So people are starting to come in. There's folks here again that are folks that have joined in before, but for those that you that haven't joined and this is your first time, my name is Scott Adams. I'm the CEO of James Fisher Technologies. So I'm sure more will be popping in as we go. They're all probably working on getting the Zoom link to work and learning the intricacies of virtual working. But let's go ahead and get started. We want to be conscious of time. That's one of our goals with this webinar series, is just to get a little tidbit of information out there, let you guys chew on it, and talk about something that's interesting, helpful, and let you get on with your day. So let's do some quick introductions. So who are you guys talking to? This is a company called JFT. So we're a technology firm that's based out of Colorado. We provide really pragmatic technologies, engineered solutions, things like machine control systems, robotic systems, remote systems that are deployed on some of the most complex and dangerous projects, well, honestly, in the world. So that's what our company does. We are teamed up and partnered with James Fisher Prolec, and I'm joined with two gentlemen from Prolec today, Nigel Shaw and David Bond. Hi guys.
Hey.
Hi Scott. Hi guys. Hi everyone.
So David, I think you're going to give us the introduction today. Would you mind giving us a quick introduction to Prolec?
Yeah, of course, and welcome to everyone that's joining us on the call this morning. Thanks for taking the time. Quick introduction into Prolec. We're a company that's been working in the machine hazard mitigation safety space for around about 20 years. We're based in the UK, but our predominant operations cover UK and Europe. We're excited by the opportunity to present today and show the American audience how these machine control technologies can help make sites safer, which is ultimately what Prolec's all about. We work across predominantly excavators, but we also have some interests within ADTs, that's articulated dump trucks in the mining sector, and some other pieces of general construction equipment as well. Again, looking to make sites safer.
Cool. Yeah, thanks, David. And just to give a little bit of context with the U.S. market, we've been teamed up with the Prolec guys for a little bit more than a year. We started to get calls about a year ago asking about these safety systems, and we found that there is a significant need for these systems in the U.S. So we've been teamed up and deploying these systems to our customers for about a year now. So the last 2 weeks, we've been having these webinar chats. The first week, we had a couple of customers, Blair Christensen and Mike Shea. One is up in Boston working on the Green Line project, Green Line extension project, and the other one is down in Florida working on that Virgin Trains project down there. And we just had them talk through what's it like to put a safety system onto your job site, talk through the elements of safety, productivity, what they're seeing with their projects. And it was all based around this PME technology. So we do have those webinars available, and we can provide those to you guys if you'd like to see them. Tom will be sending out links to those as we go through the conclusion of this series. But today we have something cool to talk about, something a little bit different than the PME systems. It's called the PMX system. So David, can you give us a little introduction of what we're going to be seeing today?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Scott. Just a quick introduction. Forgive me. Nigel is joining me on the call as well. Nigel's the general manager of Prolec, and he's going to be helping me keep me on track and answering any questions, technical questions that you might have as we go through this webinar. At the bottom of your screens, there is a link to post a question anytime. Do please take advantage of that. That's the whole purpose for why we've got this team together and why we're excited to be sharing this opportunity with you, this virtual coffee. So go ahead and start any questions and we'll certainly get to them at the end. If we run a little bit over with questions, you're very welcome to stay and we'll continue to answer all of those questions. So let's get started. Let's look specifically at what we're going to discuss this morning. Firstly, we're going to look at the why there's a need for a system such as PMX, or why we believe there's a need for a PMX type system on an excavator. Secondly, we'll look at how PMX automatically prevents collisions with site-wide hazards. And finally, we'll round off with a look at how PMX is being deployed on a sort of global basis. So, very basically, PMX, it combines two well-proven technologies. If you joined us last week, you'll have learned about our excavator hazard mitigation system. That's PME, that Scott's just touched on very briefly. And the second technology is GPS, and you'll all be more than familiar with that. Okay, and I see Tom's got queued up a short animation that will help take us through just a bit of a reminder about what PME is all about. So go ahead, Tom, please hit go on that. There we go. So PME, it's a machine control system. We've designed and installed it in the UK and Europe for over 20 years. PME allows machine operators, as you're seeing in the video just now, to set virtual walls and ceilings, and they do that with the tool point of the bucket, as you're seeing just now. And in doing so, they limit the excavator's swing and the height on the boom. It's a technology that has been adopted by various highway and rail contractors where, working alongside or below fixed hazards. And here you've got an overhead hazard, which is going to be prevented from hitting, and obviously the adjacent railway track, which could also cause significant and costly damage if an operator was to catch a sleeve, for example, on a controls or some other type of mishap. So we've got that base technology, but we wanted to innovate. We didn't want to stand still because there's challenges for construction, certainly in UK and Europe, and I think you may recognise it probably stateside as well. Let's take examples. A shortage of skilled operators, infrastructure repair works next to live traffic or pedestrians, this sort of striking of known buried hazards, overhead obstructions such as cables and bridges. These accidents happen, we know, certainly on an almost weekly, if not daily basis.
I'm sure that keeps people awake in the US as much as it does in the UK, David. So.
Absolutely, and there's a common theme that when we're talking to the infrastructure constructors over here, they've got dedicated personnel to put up safety prevention measures, but these accidents still happen. Middle of a dark night in December, those cones and those fluorescents aren't always visible to an excavator operator who's under pressure. And to take a figure, the Common Ground Alliance that some of you on the call may be familiar with, they're based in the US and they've estimated it's a sort of $1.7 billion strike rate over 20 years for people that are hitting buried services. So a good amount of money right there, and that's just for the buried services. But we're excited, I think, more than excited to help solve these challenges. And that's really where we started with looking at how we can go about solving the challenges. And from our perspective, we started with the operator. We started by questioning why it is that they, quite likely someone that hasn't been to site before, someone who may largely be unaware of the hazards in their work zone and is under pressure, like all operators are. Why is it that they should be entirely responsible for avoiding fixed hazards? Is there a different way? Is there a better way to keep them fully focused on their job to maximize productivity whilst making their life easier and simultaneously protecting critical infrastructure and safeguarding the passing public? So quite a big remit right there, and a lot of challenges in that statement itself. So with that in mind, we created, as a first in the market, an integrated machine safety control with GPS, and we call it PMX. And great, Tom, thank you. You've got that clip ready to play. Let's hit play on that. So our belief is that the people that know the site best, that's the site supervisor, like our chap there, or a responsible person in that area, is best placed to know where the hazards are and to be able to protect against machine strikes. So before any work commences, site hazards are surveyed, as you've just seen, using a GPS rover and uploaded to every PMX-enabled excavator working in that zone. These hazard maps only need to be established once and can be accessed by any PMX-enhanced excavator, allowing operators to move freely within safe working zones without the need to repeatedly re-enter hazard locations. So what you're seeing is the PMX is automatically establishing virtual walls and ceilings every time the excavator stops traveling. Where there are buried services, we simply create a virtual box around them. Tom, maybe you just skip back a little bit there. We'll just stop right there. So when there are buried services, we can create virtual boxes around them or shapes around those hazards. And virtual walls, as you can see on the motorway, they can be of any size. We've started work with main contractors in the UK, and we were working on a sort of 5-mile stretch of road. So it doesn't really matter if the road bends, if there's buried hazards, overhead hazards, or hazards to the side of the vehicle, like the live traffic in this example here. What we found with the system is, in comparison to existing safety systems, PMX helps to increase efficiency of operations by up to 30%. So that's compared with having an existing machine control technology specifically against the operation of PMX, because the automatic nature of updating the hazard walls or the virtual walls. But a couple important points just to note on that. The full potential of PMX is really realized by the responsibility shift it introduces. It's reducing the burden on the operator and making their lives easier so that they can focus on productively completing their job. They can focus on what's right in front of them, whether it's excavating, whether it's lifting, whether it's loading. That's what we want the operator to do so that they can go on and get onto that next job, but we want them to do it safely. PMX also protects the whole swing envelope of an excavator. So if you're not operating a zero tail swing, we're taking care of that back end too. Particularly important if you're working alongside a road or a railway, as in that animation where that back end is going to swing out into the carriageway. So PMX also takes care of that. PMX does not in any way reduce the requirement for an operator to be vigilant though. They have to be vigilant to the dynamic hazards, such as people, vehicles, and other similar hazards. For example, a new delivery of aggregate right across from where the guy's working in that animation. PMX is not going to pick that up until that point is resurveyed in, and we put some virtual walls around that if that's required. So we're not taking away the core skill set of an operator. They still have to be fantastic at the controls, or as good as we could possibly get. They also have to be using their eyes and ears to watch out for those dynamic hazards. PMX is a system that can help avoid hitting the costly fixed infrastructure, but it doesn't look after this sort of dynamic hazards at the moment. And a final point just here before we go into a next clip, PMX doesn't protect infrastructure against collision when the excavator is tracking. So PMX re-establishes virtual walls, ceilings, and floors when the excavator stops tracking and starts to commence work again. When it's tracking, just like driving a car, you know, is the operator, the driver needs to be really mindful of what's round about him or her. So Tom, if we can, let's go ahead and show the system with our partners in Australia. That's a company called WebAir, and I'll hand over to Nigel, who's going to take us through what's going on in the screen in front of us. Nigel.
Brilliant, thanks, David, and an excellent description there. It's always nice to see. So look, guys, what we're going to see here is we've got an actual excavator here. This is our, as David said, our partner out in Australia. They've kitted out this CAT machine with our PMX solution. What you can see in the bottom right hand corner of the screen here is what the operator can see in the cab. There's two screens overlaid here. We've got our PME screen. For those who saw this last week, should find it familiar from what the operator can see. and the larger view around it shows the 3D vision of the hazards. So what we're going to see is this excavator now reverse. If you want to hit play on that, Tom, excavator is going to reverse towards a hazard, which happens to be the wall in this car park. As it starts to reverse, the system will start warning the operator that they are approaching the hazard. It will warn them when they are within 4 meters, and they'll get an audible warning for that. And then when they're 2 meters within that hazard, they get a more slightly aggressive warning. So that's the 4 meter one kicking in, and then just shortly after that, the 2 meter one kicking in. And then finally, the system is going to ask the operator to then stop traveling.
So we see the what's happening on the screen there. Is there some audio that they hear as well when they hit those?
Yes, absolutely. So what we can't see or hear here is that there is a beeping that is very similar to your car reversing sensors. So you'll hear that perpetual beeping, that like radar type sound, and that will get more and more insistent until they're 2 meters away. So what's happened now is the excavator has come to a stop. In the bottom left-hand corner, you would have seen it if you caught it. That display has now updated with the hazard behind it. So just in that, just on that view. Oh, it's Mark. Hi, Mark. Tom, if we can go back to that last shot of that screen, if that's at all possible, then I'll just very briefly take us through what the operator can see there. So yeah, so just hold on, you don't need to play, just hold on that screen there. So in the bottom left and the bottom right hand corner, the display of the PME screen with the little excavator, you can see that behind the excavator there's a hatched area, and that's been automatically placed on the system by the PMX solution. So the operator has reversed towards a hazard. They've been warned at every point the hazard's approaching. They've been told to stop when they're near that hazard. And then our safety system has kicked in, which now prevents that excavator from swinging round into that hazard. And this is a unique solution that isn't available anywhere else. And we thank our partners in Australia for pushing this solution and getting it in place there. And we hope you've enjoyed that. I think we're probably running a little bit out of time now, so I suspect it's probably wise to head back to you, Scott, and see if there's any questions.
Yeah, that sounds good. And yeah, that was great. Good to actually see the actual hardware. Let's start running into questions. I think we got about 2 minutes as far as running up to our 20-minute deadline. So we'll go through questions. We might go over the 20 minutes, but from a content standpoint, I think, guys, that's what we wanted to make sure we got out there before we started going into questions. Is that right?
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely.
Good deal. So Mark, I see we have one question coming in through Zoom.
Yep.
Why don't you go through these with us?
You betcha. The first one's a two-parter here, so be on your toes, boys. All right, so if a new hazard is found to be in the working area that has not been pre-programmed in the hazard map, can it be added easily to the map? And the second part is, does this have to be done by an office, or can it be added at the job site?
Do you want to go ahead, Nigel? You want to get that one?
Certainly. So absolutely, great question, common use case. As we all know, construction sites are very changeable environments. And what happens if a hazard that wasn't there before is now in place after you've done this? We have a number of solutions. We have a handheld bit of equipment that you can use to literally draw around the hazard. So we call it the PMX pencil. That allows you to draw around the hazard, upload that to the machine, and now that machine knows where that hazard is in real life. And as you move around it, it can make sure that machine prevents the machine from hitting that hazard.
Is that like regular survey rover type piece of equipment, Nigel?
Yes, absolutely. So it's very similar to the technology that's on the excavator there, but what we've done is we've made a really easy to use application so that it doesn't require very highly trained surveyors to make use of it. It's just a very simple, as we call it, PMX pencil. The idea is that it's really easy to use. And sorry, Mark, I think there was a second half of that question, which I have
I think you somewhat touched on it, but it's does this have to be done by an office or be added at the job site?
Absolutely, and you're right. That was partly answered there. It can be done by either. So, but the essential point I think we're making there is that sites change and we can adapt very quickly to that.
Perfect. Well, I got a few more here. So can previous site data be uploaded instead of using the rover?
Again, very good question. We would always caution against using previous site data. You need to make sure that the site data is up to date. But if you're confident of that, then absolutely site data can be brought in from normal AutoCAD type situations. Or even if you've been on this site before and you've stored that data, then it can just be reprogrammed into the machine.
Perfect. Okay, so can this system update excavator ranges automatically with quick couplers and tools of different lengths?
Again, very good question. Once the machines have been updated with the variety of options available, then the operator can very quickly select between them.
Cool. Another one here. Is there a way to override the system in an emergency situation?
Absolutely. Again, this was we broached this last week. There's actually 2 key switches in the cab. Those key switches are for 2 reasons. One ensures that only the right person is able to set the limits and only do it under certain circumstances. And the other one is a classic override. So in an emergent situation where things aren't behaving as they should do, or something has failed, or it's an unusual situation, then a supervisor can turn that key switch and the system is completely overridden and it works as it did before the system was there. Just a point on that. Because that may in itself present a safety issue, we also log that action so that in an event of an issue, we can go back and recover and understand what led to any particular issue from that situation.
Perfect. Another question here, Nigel. So have any of these systems been deployed in the US market?
So no, we haven't deployed the solution that you've seen there. In the US market. However, we've deployed very similar solutions to some players in the US.
Perfect. All right, so can the GPS on our excavator be integrated with PMX?
So if you're asking if you've already got, say, a Trimble or a Topcon solution already, so you've already got GPS equipment deployed on that operator, on that machine, then absolutely we can work with those solutions to integrate our PMX solution. We wouldn't expect you to have 2 sets of GPS antennas on the machine.
Perfect. So let's see here. Can a PME system that we've talked about previously, can that be upgraded into a PMX system?
Again, very good question, and yes, absolutely. What we find is that the best solution for owners of plant is to have most of the plant equipped with a PME solution, and where needed, where you have a more high risk, high hazard driven environment, you would then deploy the extra antennas, the extra GPS equipment only on those machines that need it at that time. So you end up with a fleet of PME solutions that cover your safety needs for 99% of situations. And then when you've got particularly difficult or dangerous situations, you can just drop in deploy a PMX solution onto that PME solution.
All right, perfect. All right, I got another 2-parter here. So what types of equipment can this be installed on? Example, dump trailers, working under bridges or inside a building? And then also, have you seen any insurance cost reductions associated with installing these systems?
Okay,
I'll go ahead and answer that first part then, Nigel. Since it's
no, please go ahead.
all of them today. The first part is rather more simple. It's this is a system at the moment is for excavators. We do see the wider requirement across a fleet or a different mix of product equipment, but at the moment we're fully focused on excavators, largely because excavators are that almost that Swiss Army knife of the job site. Just about every job site will have an excavator, but we do see the real requirement for anything from a sort of scissor lift to a swing lift to, as you've got there, dump trailers and all the other types of equipment. Our ambition is very much control of site-wide movement of machines, and I think our technology has got applicability across all of those. I think the second one was something around insurance cost, Mark, and Nigel, you probably got an answer to that specifically. Any cost reductions associated with installing the system from an
So we are somewhat removed from those discussions with insurance providers. However, it is my firm belief that by providing these sorts of solutions, that it should be more than applicable to negotiate a lower insurance premium based on the fact that you are making a system safer, it's becoming more productive, and you're looking after your staff. You know, that should, you know, so from not just a physical health but mental health as well.
Awesome. Just a couple more here. Nigel, so how accurate are the measurements?
So the measurements on the machine itself are down to sub-centimeter, or, you know, what would that be, a third of an inch accuracy. So very highly accurate from our machine perspective. As you would always say, you know, we are only as accurate as the data going into it. So assuming your survey data is accurate, then we are only a fraction of an inch less accurate than that.
All right, let's see. I got another one here. So is there any intention to enable the machine itself to 3D scan the site to detect dynamic changes in space or to space constraints? So is there anything in the works? That sounds like an awesome system right there.
well, yeah. I mean, there are many answers to this, from actually having live video cameras on the machine to understand the environment around it. But actually, from a very basic standpoint, you can use the machine to draw hazards, which we saw last week on the PME solution, where you draw a wall using the bucket on the excavator, you mark those 2 points. So in a sense, you can use that to mark out three-dimensional hazards. For instance, you know, if someone's left some sort of, if there's a truck, for instance, that is going to be there for a long time, you could mark it out using the bucket of the excavator. So it's not something that we support into the PMX solution, but I could see a number of ways we could solve that particular problem.
Awesome. Well, I've got one more, and it's actually another two-parter. So that's kind of the theme of the day today. But so good questions, by the way, everybody. So what are you using for GPS correction services, satellite or GSM type correction like VRS now, or similar, or is it needing a base station?
So we are agnostic to that. Our technology is not the GPS technology. Our technology uses standard GPS technology, and on the system you saw there, I think that's a Trimble solution that we've got out there on that machine. Now, therefore, we don't care. You know, if you're getting your correction service through satellites, or you're getting it through a land-based correction service or a local base station, that's entirely up to you. That's whatever suits your environment. We can help you through selecting and using those if that's not something that's familiar with you, but we don't mind.
And Nigel, I guess one thing to point out is if somebody doesn't have GPS enabled equipment, our system comes equipped with all the GPS systems needed, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And we would generally advise using some sort of land-based correction service or a satellite correction service, just because certainly our experience in the States is you know, it's quite patchy, some of the coverage for the land-based solutions, and the base station can often lead to extra hassle that customers who are not used to using them have to then put up with.
Yeah. Well, that was awesome. Everybody that popped in those questions, we really do appreciate you putting in those questions, because that's really what this webinar is about, and it's about giving you guys something to go talk about, think about. Okay, how would this get deployed on our site? And working through those questions are the things that you have to do. We understand that. But with that said, we understand there's other questions there that weren't asked. We're happy to go through those items with you. Please go visit our website, www.jftechgroup.com, or drop one of us an email. We'd love to get engaged with you. So with that concludes our webinar series, our coffee chat. So thank you, David. Thank you, Nigel. Thank you, Mark.
You're very welcome.
And with that, I guess if nobody has anything else, we'll go ahead and sign off.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.